Yo, what's good, y'all? It's your boy, it's your dog, Tweedy. Today I want to talk about the Mortal Kombat 1 Chaos Reign story mode and my opinion on it. Now, I'm not really, I don't like to just be negative about Mortal Kombat. I'm normally pretty positive, but I do feel like the Chaos Reign story mode is probably the worst story mode they've ever put out. And, whenever I was getting towards, or whenever I got to the end, I thought to myself, what will people say to defend this? Because you always have like two sides when it comes to like a fandom. You have a side that like defends things no matter what, and then you have a side that hates on things no matter what. You know what I mean? And I was thinking like for the people that are gonna defend it, like they might say, "Oh well, it's just an expansion. It's just an expansion story, so you can't expect like as much or as good as like the full base game story." But then I was thinking, well, they released Slim Shady Aftermath for MK11, and that was one of the best stories they've done. If someone said Aftermath was their favorite story that NRS has done, where they brought back, the old actor that played Shang and had like Sindel's revival and all that stuff, and then the final battle with Liu and Shang, then I wouldn't blame them. That was one of the best stories they've done. So I think like it being an expansion, especially a more expensive expansion than Aftermath, it's not really, you can't really use it as an excuse. Now, to be honest, like whenever I played this, I expected it to be like really vast and maybe like double, because it was like an hour and a half, I think, when I played on my stream, maybe 2 hours. And yeah, it was just Havoc invaded. Well, at first it was like a little Linkway beef with Sector and Cyrex being told what to do by Sub, and then they invaded Scorpion's wedding, but then that quickly turned into Havoc invading, and then they all have to turn on Havoc, and it felt like watching like 3 filler episodes of an anime instead of like an expansive story mode. And like one good example of like how rushed this thing is so Bihan gets turned into noob, right, by Havoc, and then he shows up to fight, the heroes, which at that point is a group sent by Liu Kang, which consists of like, I think it's so there's like people there from that realm, and then there's people who came there. I think the people that went there were like Scorpion, Cyrax, Sector, and then like Tanya and Rain from that realm joined in with that group. Now Rain had died at that point. But so Tanya fights Noob, right? That's the first fight you do against Noob. Well, actually I think you fight him with, yeah, that's the first fight you do against Noob. Tanya beats up Noob, and then he's done, and then you turn him back to Sub-Zero. And that's literally it. Like, he's horny for Chaos. He's like, "Oh, I love Havoc and Chaos, it's so cool." And then like 5 minutes later, he's Sub-Zero again. He just looks like Noob. So that's like how this felt. It was like these big things got set up and then they were just gone, right? Like Havoc got introduced and he's like, "Oh my god, unstoppable Chaos," this and that. And then within an hour and a half, he's already beat. I did call in a previous video that I said that Sub-Zero and Scorpion would be the ones to stop Havoc. And I said that the reason they'd be able to do that is because Sub-Zero, from being noob, would know Havoc's secrets, right? And that they would eventually turn him back to Sub-Zero. And I don't even feel good that I called that because it was handled like so poorly, right? Like he was turned back to Sub-Zero like almost instantly, and then the fight with Havoc was so rushed. But he did say that, right? That like he knew Havoc's secrets because he was noob. So I guess I called that, but the story was so underwhelming that I don't even really feel good about it. And I'm actually to kind of give myself refreshers, while I'm doing this video, I'm skimming over the story cutscenes, and they are an hour and a half, right? And the fights don't last very long, so yeah, it's about an hour and a half to 2 hours, which is pretty crazy, right? Like, let's go look at. Hold on, let me type in MK11 Aftermath all cutscenes. Okay, so that wasn't that much longer, I guess. I feel like it felt way more. Or wait, I'm getting like mixed results. So that was about 2 hours of just cutscenes. I felt like it was longer. I guess it was just, well, it was about 30 minutes longer, right? It just felt a lot more substantial. I guess it was just So cool having old Shang back and all that. But yeah, this just felt like three like random filler episodes. And also like MK stories, I'm sure most of y'all will agree with this. They kind of feel like Marvel movies these days. Like just like the whole setups, the timelines, even like the dialogue. Like at one point, Liu Kang to Gears is like, or Gears to Liu Kang is like, "Oh, the keeper of time is chaos. This day won't end well." It's like such a Marvel line. And then like Liu Kang's talking about, "Oh, I bet you want me," and then he's like, "No, I want him." He points to Gears, and Gears is like, "Huh, me?" And that's like such a Marvel thing. So the fact that they left out one of the coolest things in Marvel movies, which is, a sneak preview of something else coming in the post credits, is so lame, right? Because it was such like a filler. It really felt like I watched like three filler episodes of an anime, which is makes sense, right? It was about an hour and a half. Anime is like 30 minutes. It really felt like I got like three like Naruto filler episodes back to back, and that was Chaos Reigns. So if we could have, and they even said at one point in the story, Empress Melina, I think, who's the Empress now because Sindel's dead, she was like, "Oh, Shao has revolted against us, and he's got his forces." So imagine if we got a sneak preview of like Shao being the big villain in the next expansion, or like Onaga or something like that, instead of just it just ending on that scene with Cyrix and Scorpion. I felt like that was really lame. The only part of the story that I really enjoyed was this stuff with Tanya and Rain. That was cool. Their little love story. But it was like Earth 75, Tanya and Rain. It wasn't ours. It wasn't our Tanya and Rain that we've always known, or at least knew throughout MK1. So it was hard for me to be like attached, right? Like, and that's another thing. Whenever you get all these timelines, when there's like 87 different timelines, whenever you start messing around with the characters from other ones, it's hard for me to find any like attachment, right? And it's even worse because the MK1 characters are not the characters that we knew before besides Lou, right? They're all new, like crafted in Lou's timeline. So we're already like trying to learn about them, trying to get attached to them, stuff like that. And then they're introducing the versions of characters from all these other timelines. It's just like, that stuff with Tanya and Rain was cool, but why would I care at all? Like why would I care? And then like the little dynamic with like Cyrax turning to the Shirai Ryu and Sector still holding out. That was kind of cool. Um I don't know. I feel like they should have went into that more maybe. Like maybe just made the expansion about the Lin Kuei, battling back against the Shirai Ryu and our heroes and stuff. That would have been cool. I still need to check out the Tower of Time endings. I guess those add like some further stuff after Chaos Reigns, I guess. Same way with how the Towers added stuff to the main story of the game that was canon, which I think is pretty cool. Instead of the endings, normally the endings in Mortal Kombat games, they'll be like just imaginary endings that, you know, glorize, like, is glorize a word? Glorify the character that won the tower. Whereas with MK1, they're actual, like, canon endings. So maybe I need to check out those. And then also, one thing I really liked about, well, not really liked, but one thing I liked about the expansion was World War II Johnny. He had a cool little introduction and stuff, but then there was no story arc to him. There was no nothing. Like, there was no, like, there was no time for any kind of character arc, story arcs, nothing like that. Even the characters that I felt like had a lot of screen time, like Cyrax. I feel like Scorpion's the only character that had a little bit of a character arc. A little bit. Like, he started out, he was like, kind of like Ned Stark, right? Where it's just like all about honor, even no matter what. You know what I mean? So even when like Cyrax saves his wife, he's like, "Oh, you stuck with the Lin Kuei? We gotta kill you." And then Harumi was like, "No, don't kill her. Don't be a dumbass." And then he was like, "Whatever." He didn't do it right then. But then when it was his own decision later on, he was like, "You know what, Harumi was right," stuff like that. I feel like that was the only character arc we got at all. And then Cyrax, you could say Cyrax got a character arc because she was Lin Kuei and then switched. But like the second she realized what the Lin Kuei was doing, she switched. So it wasn't like her mind didn't get changed. You know what I mean? It would have been one thing if Sector came around towards the end, but she didn't. You know. So the only character that really had a character arc was Scorpion. Like Bihan Sub-Zero, he didn't change any. Nothing really changed about him. You know, he became noob. He beat the villain, but I don't. I feel like he still has beef with Scorpion. He still like nothing about his point of view changed really at all. Um, so yeah, it was just weird. And then Liu Kang, like Liu Kang has this thing going on where I don't know, like if the developers do it on purpose, but he's always like, "Oh yeah, we're on your side," or "Oh yeah, we're gonna do this," but then he doesn't do shit. Even though we know he's like this all-powerful god that can open up black holes. Like he tells like Melina, "Oh, we're on y'all's side against the Lin Kuei," but doesn't do shit against the Lin Kuei. And then he's like, okay, and you might say like, "Oh, well, he doesn't do stuff within his own timeline because he doesn't want to alter it himself. He wants things to play out," which isn't true anyways, but even if you would argue that, he later on with whenever the Havoc stuff's happening, he's like, "Okay, we got sub Havoc, we got to go to his realm before he gets all the Chaos Emeralds." And then he's like, "Oh, but we'll just send people from other people that's not me to go do it." And it's like, "Why don't you go?" And he's like, "Well, I gotta be here in case shit pops off." And it's like, bro, you don't do shit when stuff pops off anyways. So like, what are you doing, bro? Like there's no wonder Havoc fucking invaded and came so close if it wasn't for Bihan beating him in the end, because Liu Kang's like not doing shit. He's lazy. He's like the laziest timekeeper. Whereas like Havoc's actually fighting and doing shit. So like Liu Kang's gotta, you gotta sharpen your tools or they're gonna become dull, you know what I'm saying? That's why Havoc beat his ass. He's just kind of a lazy motherfucker. But besides that, like, yeah, the story mode was kind of trash, y'all. I feel like it's the worst story they've done. Because you gotta think, what stories have they done? They did MK9 and Justice 1, MKX and Justice 2, MK11, MK11 Slim Shady Aftermath, and then they did MK1 and now this. I feel like this is the worst. If you want to talk about writing, if you want to talk about like anything, like this is the worst. And it sucks because it had cool ideas, right? Noob, Havoc creating Noob, the little beef with the Lin Kuei, and the Shiraiyu. Like it had cool ideas, but all in all, the story mode was very weak. I didn't like it. Let me know what y'all thought in the comments down below. Let me know if I'm being too harsh and all that stuff. Now, I will say one thing. The combat pack, I do like the Chaos Range overall because I'm really enjoying Noob. I think Sector and Cyrus are really cool. I need to try them. And then we're getting the 3 guests, so at least we're getting 6 characters. But yeah, the story mode was really not good. If someone bought the expansion only for the story mode, I feel kind of bad for them. So hopefully no one did that. Hopefully y'all play the characters and stuff as well, because they are very fun to play. And then we're getting 3 later on too, so that's cool. But yeah, y'all, that's gonna be it. Let me know what y'all thought in the comments down below. Later.